Good day. In this video, we're going to show you how to use a flow chart in algebra to describe the relationship between the input values x and the output values y in this flow chart. And we will show you that this is the description in algebraic form. Using this flow diagram, we're going to explain the relationship in words between the x input value and the y, the output value, describe the relationship in algebraic form, and then calculate the missing input value, that block over there. Because we see that the input values follow on each other, we write the output values next to each other and try and find a pattern in them. One of the patterns we know is a linear pattern, and that tells us we take term 2 minus term 1 and get an answer. Remember to do it in brackets. It's a little bit more difficult later in life. So you put the minus 3 in a bracket minus the minus 7. If you work it out algebraically, you get a plus 4. Is the difference between minus 7 and minus 3. When you take the 1 minus the minus 3, you're going to get a plus 4 again. And if you take the 5 minus the 1, you get a plus 4 again. So we see we have a constant difference of plus 4. If you now minus the 7 minus the 5, you will see it gives you a 2. So this one is odd out. So let's let it wait, please. We know that in a linear pattern, the formula is y equals to bx plus c. And b is 4, the constant difference that we have in a linear pattern. Then we plug the 4 into the formula in the place of b. Then we take one of the input values with its output value and plug it into this equation. I took the first pair. If x is minus 3, y is minus 7. Minus 7 in the place of y and minus 3 in the place of x. Now we solve for c. Minus 7 is equal to minus 12 plus c. You plus 12 on both sides and you get c equals to 5. So the algebraic description of the relationship between this x and this y value is y equals to 4x plus 5. If they ask me to explain this relationship in words, I will say I take the input value, times it by 4, and then add 5. That will give me my output value. And like I said, this is the explanation of the relationship in algebraic form. Lastly, they asked me to work out the value of that little block there. The input value that will give me an output value of 7. We replace the y value with 7 and we leave the rest. And now we solve for x to find the input value. You minus 5 on both sides, you get 2 equals to 4x. Then you divide by 4 on both sides to get the x alone. You get x is 2 over 4. So in other words, that input value must be a half to give us an output value of 7. Please stop the video and get your brain around this. It is our next flow chart, and they're asking us to find the relationship between the input values and the output values in this flow chart. We write down the output values and we find the difference if it exists. So 9 minus 11 gives me a minus 2, 7 minus 9 gives me a minus 2, and 5 minus 7 gives me a minus 2, and 15 minus 5 doesn't give me a minus 2, so he waits. Because we have a constant difference, we use the formula again, y equals to bx plus c. And b is the minus 2, the constant difference that we found up here. Plug that into the formula in the place of b. Take one of your input values with its output value and plug it into this formula. I took the first pair again, the input value of minus 3 I put in the place of x. The output value of 11 I put in the place of y. So I put 11 here and the minus 3 there. Then we just solve for c. So minus 2 times minus 3 is 6. We minus 6 on both sides to get the c alone, and we get c equals to 5. Now if they ask me to explain the relationship between this input value and this output value in algebraic form, I will give them this equation. Y equals to minus 2x plus 5. If they ask me to explain it in words, I will say I take my input values, I times them by minus 2, and then add plus 5. And that'll give me my output values. And lastly, they ask us to work out the value of that little block there. They're asking what was the input value that gave me an output value of 15. And I will use this equation to help me. You write the 15 in the place of y and keep the rest, and now solve for x. You minus 5 on both sides. You get 10 equals to minus 2x. You divide by minus 2 on both sides to get the x alone. You get x equals to 10 over minus 2. You get x equals to minus 5. So an input value of minus 5 over there, working with this relationship, give me an output value of 15. Please stop the video and get your brain around this one. Please indicate whether you liked or disliked the video and subscribe to the channel. If you run into a flowchart that gives you trouble, you may send us a clear picture of your flowchart and a clear picture of where you tried it. Then we will try and solve the problem and send back an answer to you as soon as possible. Enjoy algebra.